Going into the playoffs most years, it seems like when they are over, there will be somewhat of a chill-off season with no drama. But when playing at the highest stage and not coming out on top, there are often stars who find themselves upset after the season, and some might even demand a trade. It's no secret that the Dallas Mavericks had a far from perfect postseason, but what makes it even worse for this franchise is the fact that their future is currently spiraling, because of a few reports that should have Mavs fans nervous to say the least. Today we have to talk about the Dallas Mavericks, and in particular, the fact that Luka Doncic may not want to stay with this team for the long term because of the fact that he already has a legacy to pave as a top 10 player in the league, as well as some other reports that have come out and what the Mavs can do to prevent themselves from losing their once-in-a-generation type talents in Luka Doncic. But before we get into all that, if you've been enjoying the content and would like to support the channel, it would be absolutely clutch if you subscribed if you're new and join the Woods crew. Fun fact, over 95% of you guys who have been watching the content consistently aren't even subscribed, so if you just hit that sub button below, I could go full-time very soon, believe it or not. But back to the Mavericks, because saying that things have been going bad for them is an understatement. I'm not trying to blow things out of proportion here, but going into the season, the Mavs were supposed to be a great team and Luka Doncic was the frontrunner for MVP coming into this year. But as you guys know, this just didn't happen. Now this is not a jab at Luka by any means, because the fact is he had a really good season, but just not a great one that many thought he was going to have. Compared to the 2019-2020 season, Luka took a small step back in all his stats, but don't let that fool you because he is still showing that he was one of the best guards in the league and perhaps the next face of the NBA. But because of the fact that Luka Doncic didn't take a leap along with many other reasons, the Dallas Mavericks did not have the dominant season that many were expecting from them, and with that, they finished with the 5th seed in the West with a record of 42-30. But even though this team was winning at a very solid level, almost upsetting the LA Clippers, the fact is there have been some major issues going on, and it is supposedly all started shortly after this rush season began. When the Mavericks began their season, they had some kinks to work out to say the least, with their new roster like most teams. But these kinks did not exactly get fixed, which led to tension between not only the players, but between players and staff on the team as well. In particular, revolving around Luka Doncic and his relationships with the team. Around mid-season, Mavs owner Mark Cuban talked about the relationship between Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingus, and this is where the tension on this team began. Cuban said that Luka and Porzingus were quote-unquote good on the court, but they didn't really bond off the court and really didn't like each other that much. This proceeded to spark a bunch of rumors, and after the loss of the series against the Clippers, it was additionally reported that Kristaps Porzingus felt like an afterthought on the court because of the fact that Luka Doncic was getting so much praise. I already made a video on this topic, which I will link below and at the end of this video, but the fact is, tension between stars on a team more often than not results in one or both of them leaving in the modern day NBA. And well, rumors have already been spiraling about Porzingis trades, and then a report came out that really concerned me along with everyone else that has been keeping up with the Dallas Mavericks. It was reported that Luka Doncic is not happy with the current front office situation and that the Mavs are very concerned about Luka's future with them, but that he still planned on signing his new big deal. Now I'm not gonna lie, when I saw this report, I was pretty shocked. I mean, we have seen plenty of stars get upset because of the situation they've been in for a while, like James Harden, but the fact is, we really haven't seen a young talent do something like this in a while, which means that the Mavs should definitely be concerned about their future with Luka. But in particular, the reports have been saying that Luka Doncic is upset with a few specific people in the office, one of which is Haralabos Voulgaris. Voulgaris is basically the right-hand man to Cuban and has a majority of the say in what moves this franchise makes since he was hired in 2018. What makes this interesting is the fact that Voulgaris is a professional sports gambler and has used almost all analytics when making moves over the past couple of years, which has had its pros and cons for this team. I mean, when someone scores on a draft pick like Luka, they will have a while to continue to show that they can bring a championship to this team. But since this pick, the moves by Voulgaris have been questionable to say the least looking back. Most recently last offseason, the Mavs made a move to acquire Josh Richardson in exchange for Seth Curry, which to say the least backfired for this team big time. I'm not one to rip these moves apart because at the time, we didn't know that Josh Richardson would be far from the player he was in Philly. But the fact is, they did not fill the scoring void that Seth Curry left when he was traded right away, which was one of the reasons why the Mavericks fell short of what they were expected to do this season. But the moves by Voulgaris weren't what angered Luka, because apparently this beef has been going on since the winter and had nothing to do with the actual moves of this team, and more so the direct commentary between Voulgaris and Luka. During a game in February, Luka was a little hot-headed, and well, Voulgaris was not afraid to tell Doncic to calm down, which is exactly what he did. But Luka did not take it well and fired back with, quote, "Don't tell me to calm down." And with that, Voulgaris left the game and didn't attend another one for the entire season, which Luka Doncic and many others on the team believe was Voulgaris giving up on this team, which was what led to the relationship between them two being so bad. With Voulgaris making all the Mavs' major moves in the past few years, getting guys like Porzingis, Seth Curry, Josh Richardson, and recently JJ Redick, it's clear that he has basically had complete control over what moves his team's made. But that may be coming to an end very soon because of the reports that have been coming out. What I mean by that is Voulgaris' contract expires this summer, and it's safe to say the odds of the Mavs holding onto him keep getting slimmer and slimmer. Or are they? Now, we have gotten a lot of this Mavericks news or inside information because of the fact that Mark Cuban has come out and openly talked about it, which he just did about Voulgaris, and to say the least, what he said was interesting. Quote, "I really like what Bob brings to the table. He does a great job supporting Rick in the front office with the unique data insights. I don't know about you, but to me, this Mavericks team needs to make up their mind on whether or not they let Luka Doncic control not only their team, but their franchise as a whole. It's very clear that Luka does not have a good relationship with Voulgaris, and he has made it clear that he is concerned about him, indicating that he wants him replaced. Yet, Mark Cuban just went out and said that Voulgaris is doing a great job, which hints at the fact that he might be getting a new contract this summer. Now, I'm not usually one to say that you should do whatever your player wants, like the Rockets did with Harden, because we see how that usually ends for teams. But the fact is, if this team does not acknowledge Luka's wants and needs at all, roster-wise and front office-wise, there is a very good chance that he becomes the next disgruntled star in the league. Don't get me wrong here, Luka is not going anywhere anytime soon. He's a young player that just wants to get paid before he focuses on his legacy, and you best believe that he's not going to turn down a $200 million contract that he's eligible for with the Mavericks. But after Luka signs this deal is where the concern comes in, because the fact is, the NBA is becoming more and more of a league for the stars. And if a star with multiple years left on his deal like James Harden or perhaps Damian Lillard wants out, all they have to do is throw a fit and make things difficult, which gives the team no other choice but to trade them and start over. What it comes down to is who Mark Cuban gives the power to, because right now, it's in the hands of Voulgaris, but to say the least, it will need to shift to a new president of basketball operations or maybe even Luka Doncic if this franchise wants to keep him content. But aside from the front office issues, we just have to talk about the actual roster of this team and what they need to do if they want to win at the highest level and convince Luka that they have what it takes to give him the legacy he's chasing after. It's been clear for a majority of the season that the Mavericks had an honestly poorly constructed roster along Luka Doncic. I mean, after the Seth Curry-Richardson trade didn't work out, the Mavs needed to fill the void of shooting desperately, so they traded for JJ Redick, which may have been a decent fix temporarily, but he will be a free agent and will more than likely sign with one of the teams in New York where his family is located that he talked about on his podcast. But because of the fact that Josh Richardson hasn't been the best wing defender like they were hoping for, not only does this team need shooting because of what they lost in the trade, but they also need wing defenders to put around Luka as well. And that's not where the issues end. In the postseason, it was very clear that the Mavericks team just didn't have the second star who could take some of the scoring and playmaking load off of Luka, and we all know this was supposed to be Porzingus. But because of coaching, Porzingus himself, and other factors, he just wasn't able to step up and be the guy when it mattered most, which has led many to believe that this team needs to make a move for a bona fide star that can help play alongside Luka without hindering his MVP type playing ability in the playoffs. Now, am I saying that this team needs to get rid of Porzingus entirely? Not necessarily. If Luka and Kristaps can work out their relationship off the court, I think it would be best for the Mavs to hold on to him anyways, solely because of the fact that his trade value is at an all-time low at the time of making this video. But either way, it's pretty clear, this team needs to get a star that can help them on both sides of the ball. In my eyes, the second star of this team needs to be able to score the ball efficiently on all three levels of the floor while being able to defend on the perimeter as well, and there are definitely some players that the Mavs could target to fill their needs, which we'll just have to save for another video. With this team having a solid amount of their key players becoming free agents like Tim Hardaway Jr., it's safe to say that this team will have some room to make some big moves and potentially make Dallas a true contender. And if they don't, we could very well see Luka Doncic become one of the next disgruntled stars because of the tension that already exists with the team. Let me know down below if you would like to see part 2 of this video going into the specific moves I think the Mavericks should make, because some might shock you. But be sure to subscribe if you're new and join the Woods crew if you enjoyed the video, and other than that, I'll catch you on the next one. Woods out.